Well, welcome to Modeling Time with me, Brian Banna, and another episode in the Tangent Scale Models N7 Caboose build. So I want to go over how I do the painting. I mean, it's just painting, but there's steps that I do. And we'll get right into masking for the 45-degree barricade stripes. So let me get the camera set up over here, and I'll go through a few steps on painting, and then we'll get right into masking. All right, just a quick segment here. I've got the windows all blanked out in here. So my next step is I'm going to grit blast the entire shell. I don't need to put anything on it yet because I need to get the paint work done on the ends, on both ends. So once I get that paint work done, then everything that gets painted green will be put on. And the roof vents and all that gets black, so those will just be painted separately. The roof walk will be painted separately, but it's the same color as the body itself, but it's easier to just paint it separately so that you can get, underneath it, and you can get the portion of the roof painted properly and such. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grit blast the whole thing, and then I'm going to paint this area and of course this end flat white. And when I get done with painting it, I'll explain my process and why I do the colors the way that I do them, and give you an idea of the reasons why I do that. So right now, get this grit blasted and get them painted flat white. Okay, so first I'll touch on painting. Now painting is just painting. You load your paint up in the airbrush, you shoot it on, you let it dry, you mask it, you paint your next coat, and so on. And that sounds easy, and it pretty much is, but there's a little bit more involved in that than just loading up your airbrush and shooting it on. Especially when painting white. White is one of the most difficult colors. White and yellow basically are some of the most difficult colors to get full coverage on. But I have a special way that I do it, and it doesn't require a lot of applications of paint, and I think it works really well. So typically the first thing you should do is prime your model, either with a black primer, depending on what you want your top colors, the shade of your top colors to be, or if you want to do some pre-shading or post-shading, or pre-shading, that's it. Post-shading is after you've done the paint work. So, or you could shoot on, of course, a white primer, or you could shoot on a gray neutral primer. Most of the time, when I shoot a primer, it's because there's parts on the model that are of varying colors, like brass parts or black plastic parts or whatever, and then I'll prime it all so that when I put my top coat on, the color that I want, you don't have, you don't, like over a black part and you're shooting light colors, you don't have to shoot a whole bunch of paint over that black part to get it to match the lighter colors, so you prime the model. With this model, I didn't need to prime it. I have the luxury of having a grit blasting booth, and the grit puts a nice tooth on the plastic so that paint will stick to it like normally it would with a primer. So this is just grit blasted. The next step for putting on a white or a yellow, it's kind of the same, is I will first paint the area with a flat white. I don't use gloss white as the first paint because gloss white takes a lot more to cover, and gloss white has a tendency to want to pull into the joints and leave the flat surfaces like the paint's wicking away from the flat surfaces to go to the joints and corners. But with flat white, it just covers nice and evenly. So I put a few coats of flat white on there. Now, excuse me, I let that set up and cure, maybe a day. Then I'll come back and I'll shoot the gloss white. I like to use gloss white and gloss yellow as the final coat because it's a much harder finish when it dries and cures. And it's more scratch resistant and such, where flat paint you can put scratch marks in it and things like that. So I put the flat white down, and it doesn't have to be a solid opaque coverage. What you want to do is just get the tonal shade, or however you want to call it. Maybe I'm not using the right terms, but you want to get it white so that when you put the gloss white down, the gloss white will cover in 1 or 2 coats, and you don't have to use a lot of it. So that's what I've done here, and you can see the white on there, and then of course on that end. And in the last video also I plugged the windows, or I said I was going to plug the windows, so I've got all that done. So the next step is to put the barricade stripes on. Now the barricade stripes are going to be 8-inch stripes. So what I do is I get my tape out. So I'll get a piece of tape out. I got to get everything all set up, but I just want to give you an example of how I do it. Put the tape down. This is Tamiya tape. I really like Tamiya tape. Then I took a 1/16 inch piece of brass, and I've cut some slots in there so that on here we've got, this is a 6-inch stripe, this is an 8-inch stripe, and this is a 12-inch stripe. So I'll be using the 8-inch stripe. So all I do is I set that on there. So I'm going to be using this stripe, and I'll put it up here, and then I'll just cut the parallel line there, and I'll go over a little bit more, little bit finer detail once again. And so there I have an 8-inch stripe. So I'm going to get all my tools out, everything set up. I thought I had everything out, but I didn't. I still need a couple more things, and then we'll go into making or putting on the striping. Now on the Caboose, let me zoom in here a little bit. You can see the frame around the door, and it also, the batten strip goes up into the roof. The stripes are going to start at this corner right here and here. So that's going to be a black stripe, there'll be a small black stripe, and then black stripes coming down. So I need to get this piece of tape here, I need to put a 45-degree corner in it right there so it fits that corner real nicely. Now what I'll probably do, I probably won't even have to worry about that. What I'll probably do here is just making sure that it's at a 45-degree angle, and that's not, but I'm just explaining to you. And I'll burnish it into the corner, and then I'll take this scalpel blade, which is really sharp, and I'll just trace it right on those corners and then pull that piece off, and that should do it just fine. So let me go ahead and get all my tools and everything set up, and we'll get right to masking. Okay, so the tools I'll be using in this video, or for masking, is, of course, I've got a number 11 blade. This is a brand new blade. A scalpel blade. This is a brand new blade. Whenever I always say this, whenever I start new projects or a new task, and I need accuracy, I always change and put new blades on. So these are nice and sharp blades. I've got a toothpick for my burnishing tool. This is those, what do you call them, those bamboo toothpicks, those long ones. They're like 3 inches long, I think. No, this is like 3.5 inches long. What I do is I sharpen and chisel one end, and then I basically just take the sharp point off the other end and chisel it so that it's at a like a blunt end, but I can still burnish it. You can see how dark it is on the end there from burnishing. Same with this one. This one I can get into the corners easier and stuff like that. I also use this end to take off bare metal foil when I need to take that tape off. So I got that. Some tweezers. I don't need that. Some scale rules or metal straight edges. Tape. I've got a 45-degree triangle, and I've got my stripe width cutting tool. So first thing I'm going to do is I want to cut a 90-degree or perpendicular edge to this edge. So I'm going to take a scale rule there, push it up against the edge of the tape. I'm going to take my 45-degree triangle there and then just cut that off like that. So now I got a nice straight edge there. Now what I'm going to do, actually, oh yeah, anyway, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one of my 8-inch stripes, or actually no, what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm going to cut one of my 8-inch stripes. So for that, I'm going to put that up against that edge, and my 8-inch stripe is that one there, so I'm going to put that. So now we've got that parallel with the tape, and I'll show you why I do this. Actually, let me show you why I do this like this now. So let's say, well, not let's say, we are. I've got to put a 45-degree stripe down here. So if I take this and I figure, okay, so the caboose is that way, so I need the stripe, I need 45-degree angle to come from this corner down. So if I go like that, and I put that, let's say right there, I can take that away. There we go. Now I've got 45 degrees right there. Now I can take, well, that just ruined my edge. So what I need to do now is cut this side . There we go. Now I can show you what I do. So if I put this scale rule on this side up against the tape, and I take my striping tool, put it there. Now when I cut this 8-inch wide stripe, I have a nice 45-degree edge. Now what I can do with that, I need to put my goggles on here. There we go. Now what I can do with that, if I put it up against, you're not going to see this, but I'm going to try. If I put that edge up against here, the door frame, and it's perfectly on there, my stripe is at 45 degrees. So that edge gives me my 45-degree stripe. So that's basically the way it works. But what I need to do now is I need to place this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to start that stripe right there. I'm not going to start it on the middle in the corner. I am going to start that stripe so that this will be the first black stripe. You're going, wait a second, that can't be the first black stripe. You've got it on there. Well, I'm going to show you what happens. See, this should be wide angle. There we go. Okay, so we got the 45-degree stripe in there. Now we need to check to make sure that's 45 degrees. I can't get, so what I need to do, I need to turn the camera off. I need to make a small 45-degree triangle that I can slide around in here to make sure that is at 45 degrees. Okay, so there's a little change of plans here. I don't need to cut this line in here because I made two 45 degrees, one for the high stripes on the back of the caboose and one for when it's down low. And you will see that these two pieces are from each other, so I just cut across there. But I also want to show you a tip. But anyways, first, before I show you the tip, if I take this 45-degree triangle and see if I can get it on there. Let me line it right up at the top. Relying on the cut 45 degrees doesn't work, because if you look at that, it's not on. It's not 45 degrees. So that's because when you lay the tape down, you're not necessarily laying it in line with where that corner is. So it's better just to take a piece of tape and line it up in that corner, bring it down, and then line it up with your 45 triangle. And I'll show you that in a minute. But first, I want to show you a little tip on squaring up a piece of, let's say you wanted to make something like that. So to square up a piece, we want it, let's say, an inch long, okay? You see, I'm working over here, and the camera's over there, so let me show you my big belly, and we'll do that. How's that? Okay, so now you can see everything, including my belly. Anyway, so what we're going to need, you're going to need a protractor, I guess. I'm at a loss for words here. So the first thing I do with one of these, because these graduation marks are not necessarily perfect to where this mark is on the rotator. So first thing I do is I will loosen it up. I'll take a nice 90-degree piece of tooling, put it on there, tighten it down, and then I'll scribe a line at 90 degrees. Now this is off. The mark put on there by the manufacturer is off 90 degrees by about half a degree. So I scribe a line on there where 90 degrees is. That way now I know that wherever it goes, I look at the scribe line and not the manufacturer's line. Now, to square up, let's say, like I said, you wanted to make something like this. So first thing I want to do is I cut the end off. Then I want to square up that end. So it's really easy. If you just take this on end, push it down against it, and just get a little bit of a sliver hanging over the edge. That edge right there. Then I take a sharp knife, and you don't want to push it, you want to pull it towards you against the straight edge. So you just want to do something like that. Just like that. Now, I know that this bottom edge and this edge are 90 degrees to each other. So then I'll just clean off any burrs, which there aren't any, and such. So there we go. So these two edges, but we're going to take care of that to make sure later on. So now we want to make it, let's say, roughly an inch long. It doesn't have to be perfect, but roughly an inch long. So let's come down here, make a mark. And now, when you cut a piece of plastic, so my mark is right there. When you cut a piece of plastic, the side you want saved, you want to be underneath the straight edge. So I'm going to put the mark there, and I'm just going to scribe a line. So this is the trash side, this is the good side. Alright, so now we want to make sure that that is perfect. So what we're going to do, I want to take any burrs off of there from the scribe and snap. Now like I said, this isn't for making like perfect, accurate, precision sizing. This is to make a tool, like something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, so it doesn't have to be an inch long. I just use that as a reference. So we're going to go back here because we need to get a reference edge. Because what I didn't do is I didn't mark the edge that I did first. So maybe it was this edge. Let's check this out. Doesn't really matter because we're going to cut it again anyway. And that actually is the edge, but just to make sure, to save having to do this step, after you do this the first time, mark it. So this is the reference bottom edge. So now we're going to spin that around, and we're going to cut this side. like that. Now we're going to turn it on end, and we're going to go, okay, this is the bottom edge, so it should be square. So when I do that, that is square. That's perfect. But we want to just make sure that it is. So we're going to stick a little bit over the edge. We're going to come back and we're going to slice that down. Just a sliver off of there. Now we're going to turn it around. And we're going to make sure that this edge, see, this edge is not square. It's almost square, but not quite. So we're going to, there we go. So now all these edges should be square. That edge is square. Yep, everything's good. All right, now I want to cut this triangle. Now, the reason why I have two triangles, because when I put this on here, I want to make sure that the upper stripes are at 45 degrees. So I can slide this across and do that. Now, you're going to notice that really you only need this first stripe at 45 degrees, and I'll show you why in a minute. So that one's not there, but if you wanted to check your lower stripes, then you could use the other piece of the triangle and slide it back and forth to make sure your lower edges are 45 degrees. So those are my good pieces. But getting back to this, so since all these sides are square to each other, then we can take a straight edge. We can take, where did I put my triangle? Oh, it's right in front of me. Take the triangle, and we can go right up to that corner. And we can scribe it. There we go. Now we're just going to kiss it a little bit with the sanding stick on the edges there. And we're going to go just one pass on the top. So there's a 45. And then we do the same thing for this one. This one has a little bit more slough on it, because it was on the garbage side of the triangle. And there we have, so there's another tool right there. Okay, now what I was talking about earlier is that I don't need to put this cut 45 degree line on the corner. All I want to do is put this edge on that corner. I just want to get that edge on the corner, and let me pull this camera up a little bit. There we go. How's it? Oh, that might work better. Oh yeah, that's much better. Okay, so I just want to make sure that line is crossing that corner. That's all I want to do. Lay that down, and I want to burnish that into the corner a little bit, because we're going to be using this edge as a handle. Alright, now I want to make sure that it's at 45 degrees, so I'm going to put that on there. I'm going to slide it across the floor, and it's not quite 45 degrees, so I'm going to make sure that I hold it at the upper edge. I'm going to peel it back, and I'm going to force the tape over there. And now I'm at 45 degrees. There we go. And now I can burnish it down. Now you don't have to burnish it down hard, because the reason for that is this piece of tape's coming off. Remember, that's going to be a black stripe. So what you want to do, so since we don't have to line everything up, it doesn't matter. You just take this is the 8-inch stripe. Come down here, and we just want to go there, 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 there we go. And we want to take up that stripe. Now we have this stripe as our reference. Now what I can do is I can lay this stripe. This represents a white stripe. Lay it right up against the line, the edge of that line. And burnish that one in good. Now this stripe I want it to wrap around, so I'm going to take that one and wrap it around. Okay, so I need another stripe. Alright, and this will cover the top of the black stripe, the top edge of the black stripe. Okay, and I can burnish that one down. Alright, so now that I've got these three stripes in, I can take this one off, and that will be my first black stripe. So I'm going to do the same thing all the way down. I'll put a piece of tape here, then underneath it, and then take that piece of tape off, and that'll be my next black stripe. I'll do the same thing up in this corner and get that out. So I'll do that all the way down. Alright, so one side is taped. Now what I have to do is I have to cut the edges off, and so that all that's there is the masking that I want. It's going to wrap around the sides, and then the edge of the masking will be where the batten strip, the edge of the far edge of the batten strip. So let's take care of those first. Remember, I've got a nice sharp scalpel knife, so it doesn't take a lot of pressure to go through this. Oh, real quick, what's really nice, the way that this taped up, if I put a stripe over here for black, where the black is, this width right here is 8 inches. The same for the bottom here. If I put a stripe over that, from this edge to the corner is 8 inches. So it'll be black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, and black. So I think it'll turn out really nice. And then of course the end platform will be black. The batten strip along the bottom, the door frame, the door, the batten strip along the top, that'll all be century green. So what I want to do is, you don't want to be too tender with holding this knife. You want a firm hold on it, but you don't need too much pressure. You just want to put it into that corner and let it follow the natural line of that edge. Same with this one. Put it into the corner and let it follow that line. And then again here, which I have an edge from the where I blanked off the window. Now we can take these off. There we go. So there's the edge. Well, what's that doing there? There we go. So there's the edge there. Now I have to do the inside here. So first I'll go up on the top and I'll cut right. You're not going to see this, but and just like you're tracing, alright, there's one. Now I got to do down the side here, the inside of the door frame. There's that one. Okay, and then I want to do this edge right here. Okay, now I want to do this edge here. Put this light over here so I can see it. And then I got to do this bottom edge. Now if you're wondering, yes, I am very lightly cutting into the plastic, but that will not be seen when it's all painted. You don't even see it now. I mean, you can see the sharp edge to it, but that's it. So there's one end all taped up. So I'm going to go ahead and get this side done, and then I'll get it painted. So when I paint it, I'll just paint all of this here. I'll paint the end platform and such, and of course both sides and both ends. All right, well, the one end is all taped up and ready for paint. Now, while I was taping this side, I was thinking, I wonder if red and white stripes would be better than black and white stripes. So I'm giving that some thought while I'm taping up this end. You'll have to wait to see in the by the end of this video which way I go. So I don't know yet, but I'm really liking the thought of red and white stripes instead of the black and white stripes. Alright, so I've got both ends masked, so there's the one end and there's the other. I talked to my best friend and we both came to the conclusion that it should be red and white rather than black and white. The red will show up better against the green. The contrast will be there, will be bright enough, and for like, I guess, railroad safety reasons, it would be much more visible. We both agreed also that for like black locomotives, that black and white would be the right thing for that, which is what I do on my Cpt&C motive power. But for the Caboose, since it's going to be century green, the red and white will show up much better against the green. So I'm going to do a little bit of taping along these edges, along the floor, a little bit up on the top, just to keep the red from, you know, going all over the place. So I get that done, and then I'm going to shoot it red. All right, so I've got the first coat of red on. I've got mostly tape. There's just a little overspray, but that doesn't matter. When this is all done, there's going to be a light spray of primer gray over everything to cover up any red. This will get all masked off, and then I'll spray it off. But I've got a light coat of flat red, just to give it, just to cover the white up, so that when I put the gloss red over it, I don't have to put that much on it, so I won't have any real paint buildup on the tape edges. With the flat paint, you put it on lightly, and you won't have really any buildup on the edges. So I put a nice light coat of flat, to me a flat red on there, and let that sit. I'm gonna go have some dinner and come back, and I will put the gloss on there and let that sit, and then we'll do the unveiling, or the removing the masking tape. Okay folks, it's time for the unveiling. So let's just get some of this tape off of here. Let me turn this way a little. There we go. Now, oh, that's even better. Alright, so let's take some of this tape off of here. Ooh, looks good. No, just kidding. I haven't gotten to it yet. Ooh, that's nice. Nice sharp line up on the top there. We got a little bleed under there. Let me see if I can clean that up. All right, I'm gonna clean it up good. I like Tamiya tape, but it's still, there's still not a tape out there that really seals over details and, you know, things like that. Yeah, I got some bleed under there, but that's okay because that's gonna all be painted green. All right, here we go. Ooh, not so bad. Not too bad so far. I need to pick an edge. There we go. Ooh, not so bad. Or not too bad. I want to carefully pick the edge. Let's see, where's my camera at? There we go. I want to pick an edge very carefully so that I don't chip any paint off. I mean, it's not going to chip any paint off, but if I just go in there with the tweezers, you're going in there with like a sledgehammer to get the stuff off. Nice. So far, so good. Ooh, there's some bleed under there. I think I might have to retape that and go over it with white. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to retape that and carefully just mist over it with white. That one's it's not necessarily bleed under, it's where the tape wasn't pressed down hard enough, and you get a little bit of a like a frosting. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. I pressed it down all the way around and it still does that. But for the most part, it turned out really, really nice. So there's one spot I gotta touch it. All I'll do is I'll tape over the red on top, tape over everything else, and just carefully mist some gloss white over it. That'll be okay. That one turned out really good. That one turned out really good. And okay, so I only have one small area right up here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. Let me zoom in. So we can get some light on it, right? Let's see if I can get a pointer going here. There we go. Right there. Right there. So I got to take care of that. Oh, I got one more to do. And that one turned out really good. So far good. I got one area I got to do a little bit of touch up on. No big deal. Let's check out this end. See how it goes. That's good. We got a little bit of frosting going right here. It's not too bad. I might touch that up too, but it's not even really visible unless you got glasses or magnifiers on. Now I didn't care about the paint overspray and all that, because like I said, I'm going to be masking all this off and then going over it with the primer gray. Alright, let's see how this turned out. Oh, that one turned out good. Yep, that one turned out good. Okay, let's get the rest of these stripes off. I can finish this video. Keep your fingers crossed. Oh, that one turned out good. Oh, yeah, that one turned out good. Now remember, there's going to be an end cage over all of this. So, you know, it's going to be behind all that. So, it's still going to look really good. I think it is. Good. Ooh, I got a little bit right on the top there. See, I can't see it at this angle, but I can see it at that angle. Let me see if I can scratch it off a little. Oh, there we go. Scratched it right off. That's good. A little bit right there. All right, looks good. Let me zoom out again. I'm going to get off camera here. All right, so there's one half of the other side. So let's just go ahead and lift that one, lift that one, and lift that one. Ooh, that one turned out really good. Ooh, another nice one. Ooh, and another nice one. Now I got one more to do. Then I'll let this red cure for a few days. Nice, okay. So there's the other side. Now the door is going to be century green, and the framing around the door is going to be century green. So there's one side, and there's the other side. I only need to do a little bit of white touch up. So, yeah, right up at the top there. I might not even need to do that because it's way up on the high up there. So I like the way it's turned out, and I think it's going to look really great. I like how I wrapped it around the sides. There and there. It's one of the things. The reason I went back and taped up this top, it just looked like there was something missing, because when I painted the red on, this would have been red all the way up at the top, and I'm like, no, there's something missing on the side, and I needed that extra stripe in there, so that worked out well. Okay, so that takes care of painting the caboose ends, and now I'm going to let that red cure for a while. The white, I think I let it cure for a week. I don't need to let it cure that long, but I just want to because I'm procrastinating. Anyway, I do want to let the red cure for a few days, and then I'm going to clear coat over it to really protect it. And that once that clear coat cures fully, which is like a day basically, then I can mask all of that area off that I want to be red and white striped, and then I can go and put the green on everything. And once the green's done, then I can mask the green off, put the black on it. The black is going to be on this bottom sill here and here, and of course the steps and all that. And then I can get the details on, or actually before I do the green, I'll put the details on that will be green. I won't put the roof walk on yet because I want to be able to paint underneath it and such. But once that's in, I'll get that. I need to drill the holes in the roof for the vents to come up and such. So right now the ends are done, and I can start working on the body. So with that said, to end this video, I hope you enjoyed that, and I really appreciate you watching. So I hope you'll stay with me on this. I'm looking forward to getting this caboose done. I think it's going to look really, really good. This will be an original Cpt&C paint, and I'm really looking forward to finishing it. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Appreciate it.